Thank you very much for being regular business meeting at the Homedale High School for the Homedale Township Board of Education. I'm Terrence Wall, Board President. I want to thank everyone for being here. We're also streaming live, and we hope folks are able to tune in. We are going to call this meeting to order. Statement is hereby made that adequate notice of this meeting was given by posting written notice prominently on the bulletin board in the office of the Board of Ed, the district's website, and sent to the 4 district schools. The mailing or hand delivery of said notice to the designated newspapers, Asbury Park Press, Star Ledger, PLG, PSG, PSA, PTSO, SAB presidents, and student representatives to the board. Filing with the clerk of Homedale Township Police Headquarters and Public Library. Roll call, please.
Mr. Wall,
Here.
Mr. Damari,
Here.
Mr. Reddy.
Here.
Dr. Kalor,
Here.
Mrs. Tisillo,
Here.
Mr. Buckley is currently absent. Mr. Mann.
Here.
Mr. Lebecci.
Here.
Mrs. Lepresti.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Opening statement, the meetings of the board are open to the public. All members of the community should feel free to participate. There are 2 opportunities for the public to speak. The first is at the beginning of the meeting, and that's for agenda items only. So any of the items that are on the agenda, which is up front, that's the first opportunity to speak, any items that are on the agenda. And then there will be a second item at the end of the meeting for anything else you may wish to discuss. Any individual desiring to speak shall give their name, address, and the group, if any, that's represented. Presentation should be as brief as possible, but no more than 3 minutes per individual, please. There are certain matters that may be brought before the board that can't be immediately addressed in public and may be referred by the board president to a committee or the superintendent for consideration or resolution. And lastly, the board vests in the president or other presiding officer authority to terminate any remarks of an individual if he or she deems it in the best interest of those present to do so. If everyone can please join us, students, board, and flag salute. Thank you. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much for that. We'd like to now go to the report of the student representatives to the board. Good evening.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Students are super excited to start the new school year off on a good note. We've heard very positive feedback about the later start this year. Students were able to get an extra hour of sleep. While traffic was a little rough at the beginning of the year, it seems to be getting better every week. Students should make sure to buy their tickets on the Wall football website for this week's away game on Friday, as you can't purchase them at the door. Additionally, juniors and seniors interested in applying to NHS who are academically eligible will be sent a digital email on 9/27. Make sure to check your email on that date. I will now pass the student report over to Bella.
Thank you for
Just talk about it.
Take your time.
It's all good. Oh.
So we're looking forward to our homecoming game upcoming, and it's for October. We'll be wearing pink, so we will be selling the pink out sweatshirts. Encourage your family members and students to buy the pink out sweatshirts. All proceeds go to American Cancer Society. And at our homecoming game, we'll crown homecoming king and queen, and those people are students who basically exemplify what it means to be a good Homedale student, well-rounded athlete, student, and overall person in the community. Jack will probably be one of those nominees. And then the Harvest Homecoming Dance is next Friday, October 4th. So there we'll have food, drinks for the kids. There'll be music, a DJ. It'll be very fun. So encourage your kids to go.
I have a question. Is there any particular place we should buy those sweatshirts or the Homedale gear?
Yeah, so if you check the morning announcements, there is a link. It's shop.merch.com/HHS pinkout. But again, that link is found in the morning announcements.
I can send you the link because as a high school parent, I have it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so but maybe something like that, we can get sent or put on the website or something. That's not really for you, but. so
Or
that
Dr.
way
Casco
any
could
parent-
put it in
we
his
have lots of
weekly
morning
update.
announcements,
All the morning.
Or all the
Yeah.
morning announcements. I don't
Pretty
know.
good.
Or Dr. Casco could put it in his update too.
You want to send it to me and I'll put it in my newsletter? Great.
Jack, is that the stuff that Mrs. Jurgensen is handling now?
Uh,
Running that? Like
I don't
Mrs.
know.
Grana used to do that?
Yeah, I know she used to do it,
Okay.
but I don't know who's doing it, who took over.
Gotcha. Good. And welcome Bella Spicer. I know it's your
Thank
first
you.
meeting, so.
I think the benefits, it's, this particular one is being done by Cheer and Dance, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, but so.
Thank you very much. And Jack, thank you for coming back. And this is this your first meeting?
Yes.
Well, introduce yourself so we know. What grade?
I'm in 11th grade. I'm on the home cheer team. I'm a part of student council and I'm on the board for peer leader. So I'm very involved in school. I enjoy cheer. I hope to be captain next year. And I really want everyone to buy the pink out sweatshirts because they reflect us as a team. And it looks good that we're raising money for American Cancer Society. And I hope to get into NHS this January when there's the induction, and I'll probably get advice from Jack on that because he is on the board.
And her
Thank-
name is Bella Spicer.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Bella Spicer, welcome. And I want to thank you for being part of the next generation of strong, powerful women leading our generation.
Thank you. very
Fellows
much.
like Jack and the other students that are in the school.
Yeah, welcome. Jack, I appreciate you sharing that feedback on the start times being pushed back. It sounds like that the high schoolers are really happy with this change. Is that the
Yeah,
sentiment we're
you know,
getting?
last year it was definitely a little rough in the morning, but people seem to be more awake first period, so.
And the traffic has gotten significantly better
Yeah,
each week?
it's definitely gotten
Awesome.
better.
Thanks
every
for bringing that feedback. That's the most important feedback for us to hear. Thanks.
And thank you. And during your travels, when you're creating these reports and sharing them with us, feel free to bring to the board what your peers are saying. It could be your traditional report, but there may be items and opportunities where the board can create a more conducive environment to education, learning, sports, or extracurricular activities. Feel free to have that open line of communication with us. So thanks again and welcome aboard.
Right. I was gonna say, you guys, for all the years I've been on the board, different student reps have handled it differently, but you definitely have an opportunity to, be the voice of all those, all the kids that put you guys in this spot. And you are a twin, right? So she didn't mention that,
Yes.
right, Thomas? So all of a sudden, if you can't make it, maybe Tom could fill in. And she's also, if anyone watched the, what is it, the news, the Hornet Report?
Yeah.
So she does the Spice Corner, is that right?
Hot ones.
It's pretty funny. All of a sudden, she would make different teachers eat or drink very strange things, and it's pretty funny. So hopefully you keep doing that.
Yeah.
Wow. I learned a lot from two of the strongest twins I know, which is Charlotte and Maria, our two daughters, right at home. So it's fun, right?
Yeah, being a twin's very fun. And Charlotte and Maria are such sweet girls. I know them well.
Thank you. That's so sweet. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. Takes a community, right? So let's get to less riveting, but equally important, the report of the superintendent.
I couldn't agree with you more, Mr. Wall. Thanks, kiddos. Appreciate you. Welcome. And thanks for serving again, Jack and Bella. We welcome you to the group. Relatively brief report tonight. Just wanted to speak a little bit to my experiences and observations with the back to school nights. I've had an opportunity to attend just about all of them. We've had a fantastic turnout from our parents and guardians. And what I have observed and heard is a lot of positivity, a lot of enthusiasm for the school year, which really has been sort of corroborated sort of what we're feeling as a staff, administration. It's a great start to the year. And I think we're all feeling very positively about having an outstanding school year. So just want to thank all the parents and guardians for coming out. Want to thank our staff and administration, and also last but not least, our buildings and grounds folks for having the buildings look fantastic when people come in. We are, as we come to the end of September, and it's hard to believe we're in autumn and we're going to be hitting October next week. The beginning of the school year is, I sort of liken it to a plane taking off. It's probably the most challenging portion of a school year is getting it up and getting it moving. But I do feel that we are starting to hit a bit of a rhythm. And I think things are really going to start to cook at this point in time as we move into October. Just a couple of final words on transportation. I want to start off by thanking our community. I want to thank our parents and guardians and students for working with us in these initial weeks as we've been sort of obviously working out some kinks. You heard Jack say, and we've observed this as well, that we're in a bit of a rhythm at the high school. We do have our engineers on site in the surrounding roadways this week, observing and understanding how the traffic patterns are impacting campus, and if there's maybe some short-term immediate solutions, short of a multi-million-dollar road project that we can potentially do collaboratively with the township to make it even better. The final frontier, if you will, insofar as working out some of the kinks with transportation, was really our third tier in our village buses. I had spoken publicly and written publicly that we were really looking at 4 o'clock as sort of like our goal, meaning that all the buses and all the kids had rolled out of village school by 4 o'clock. We're sometimes we're hitting that mark, and sometimes we're 2 or 3 minutes over that. And so in speaking with the transportation department, they are going to make some additional adjustments and have reached out to the families. And really, it's a smaller number of families who are impacted by that. And it's really certain routes and then certain folks who are at the end of those routes. And as I said at the meeting last week, we're not going to stop until we've, to the best of our ability, resolved each and every family's concerns. I have been actually visiting bus stops personally. I've been going on bus stop tours and looking at bus stops myself. It's just a practice that I started when I was in West Orange, and I've continued it here because sometimes it's just hard to tell from an email or pictures through an email exactly what the parents and guardians' concerns are. It's been very helpful for me to go out and meet parents and walk the neighborhood and see the stops. And in some cases, through that visit, I've reached out to transportation, said, I think this is an adjustment we want to make. And in some cases, I have not. But at least I know that I've put eyes on it myself. And so, our last kind of piece is, we do have some folks who have requested bus stop changes, additional stops. And as I communicated, we'll be circling back with all those individuals, after October 1st to let them know if we're going to be able to make those changes. As much as I've enjoyed the additional time I've spent with Mrs. Carducci, and thank you, Mrs. Carducci and Mrs. Rico, really probably 1,000 inquiries I'd say we're at to this point that they've responded to. And people, folks who are, at times have not been particularly happy. And so, they've taken those calls and consistently the feedback I get from Mrs. Carducci or Mrs. Rico is like, we spoke to the parents, they're in a much better place. And it's like, I can't thank you enough. I'm sure those conversations don't often start the easiest way, but it sounds like they oftentimes end with an amicable resolution. And that speaks a lot to the customer service that you're providing. So thank you. But again, as much as I've enjoyed our increased time together these last few weeks, and I've learned a lot about transportation, I am looking forward to sort of transitioning into, other items. So thank you for all of your hard work. That is my report, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Any members of the board have any comments or questions for the superintendent?
I just have a question. So with what's happened with transportation this year, okay? What are we taking with this process for next year? Like, what is going to be our goal? That we're going to start off with the more routes? Is it that we're going to try to expand that 35 minutes to 45 minutes in between? Is it all up for grabs? Like, what are we taking away to make next year better?
I mean, that's a great question. It's not necessarily a question I think that I'm entirely prepared to answer at this time, but I think the two things you mentioned are definitely on the table. One is really as we do sort of a postmortem on this year and where we are now, right? Because we've made many adjustments already, is do we need to make more? Are there adjustments that we need to make in the bid process? So that's definitely one. And the second is looking at our times, right? Are there things we can do with our start and end times to create a little bit more time in between schools, in between school schedules? So those are definitely two things we'll be looking at, sort of once the dust settles. on this, but it'll be sooner rather than later because we know the budget process is going to be ramping up sooner rather than later. And those are things we'll need to consider in terms of our allocations for transportation.
Thank you very much. And I think the board, I would say the consensus would be that every bus stop matters, every concern matters, every time frame matters. So please keep those concerns and questions coming. Call transportation directly, the superintendent's office directly, so they can have your concerns addressed and see if you can have that resolution made early in the school year as well. So keep that coming in as they refine the process. And Lara Carducci, Homedale graduate, thank you again for all the hard work that you're doing. It's appreciated by the parents of the community.
I had a
eight-
question I want about.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
We mentioned the school leaving Village School at, the buses leaving Village School at 4 p.m. Is that the earliest they can leave? Is that our target? Because it gets done by 3:40, I think.
Yeah, no, good question. So first, I'd like to say that is the time by which the last of the buses have left. There are, I would say, more than half the buses are leaving before 4 o'clock. And we've tended to have between 3 to 5 buses that are leaving by 4 o'clock or like right on the 4 o'clock hour. As I've explained, Dr. Klor, to some parents who have reached out, buses departing 20 minutes after dismissal is aligned with what it's been in the past. In previous years, there were times when we were able to get all buses out in 15 minutes. But generally speaking, 20 minutes from the dismissal to the last bus rolling out was 20. And that's sort of why I set that 4 o'clock time as sort of like the benchmark, because it was largely aligned with how we had been operating previously. Now, the day ends 10 minutes later. So, that does mean that students who are at the end of a route are getting home, 10 to 15 minutes later than they were previously. But that's really more of a function of the later end time than anything else.
Thank you very much. HIB report, please.
There is no report this evening, President Wall.
Okay, thank you very much. So now we're at the section of the agenda for any questions or comments from the public on agenda items specifically, and then there'll be a second portion with his general comments. So if there are any questions or comments that are related to the agenda specifically, the microphone is yours. Okay, seeing none, we're going to move to the agenda, the action items. And there was one item that I think we'll leave on the agenda. It was a late add. It's important. It's acceptance of non-monetary donation from the Indian Hill Parent Liaison Group, the PLG group. So we do want to honor and appreciate them this evening. So this will be on for items 1 through 25 and then 27 through 28. Would that be correct? Okay. So may I have a motion for?
Terrence, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
We could talk about some of them first, right? I just had a quick question on number 19. It's an easy one. I think it's a great thing. It's the approval of student internships and locations for this year. I guess we're adding 3, electrical contracting company, cybersecurity, and Thomas Ford. So good stuff. So my question was, and I didn't catch it last week. I presume it's only open to seniors is my guess, but Scott, like who owns that? Like, and how many companies and if you don't know now, we can, I'm just curious to how many, do we have 20? Do we have 30? Do we have 3? Like how many companies are, availing themselves to helping our students, which is obviously good stuff.
I don't know the answer to that question off the top of my head. And Mr. Cohen, our
Oh, okay, his stuff,
who
right.
oversees the internship program.
Sure.
But I can certainly get that.
Okay. No, I think it's great. It's only grown over the years, and it's nice to see 3 more local businesses, totally diverse and different, that are giving 3 more kids or more than that an opportunity.
I'd certainly like to be added to this list.
Yep.
For my business, yes.
Does it have to be a business located in Homedale or can it be in the surrounding areas?
It can be in the surrounding areas.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could just share with you, I believe there are about approximately 40 internships, and Mr. Cohen is a fantastic part of the educational community. I see him usually monthly at a chamber cast at Bellworks. I just saw him just the other day with students that come in, and they've generated quite a few internships right from Bellworks, the companies that are right there. That was for a 250th anniversary for the country that's coming up. There's some incredible programming that we'll talk about at another time for the nation. But approximately 40 for the answer folks were looking for. So may we have a motion to introduce those items, accepting item with the exception to 26?
Motion.
Okay. then there would typically be discussion, but we already had discussion. So if there's no other discussion, no, have a roll call, please.
Mr. Wall,
Yes.
Mr. Damari,
Yes.
Mr. Reddy,
Yes.
Dr. Kalor,
Yes.
Mrs. DeSillo,
Yes.
Mr. Mann,
Yes.
Mr. Lepecci,
Yes.
Mrs. LaPresti.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. And Board Member Mann, would you be kind enough to read item 26, which is acceptance of a non-monetary donation from the fantastic Indian Hill Liaison Group, PLG? If you would kindly read that resolution, we'll vote separately on that.
Sure. Resolved that the board accept with gratitude a non-monetary donation from the Indian Hill Parent Liaison Group of soccer posts and other various outdoor equipment at a cost not to exceed $15,328.
Thank you very much. May we have a motion?
Motion.
Move.
Second,
Second.
discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Wall,
Yes, thank you very, very much for that donation.
Mr. Damari,
Yes, thank you, PLG.
Mr. Reddy,
Yes, thank you.
Dr. Kalor,
Yes, thank you.
Mrs. DeSillo,
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Mann,
Yes, and thank you very much.
Mr. Lepecci,
Yes, thank you.
Mrs. LaPresti.
Yes, thanks, PLG.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll now move to any old business from the board or new business from the board. We'll now move to questions or comments from the public. This is the open portion where you can chat about any issue, concern, criticism, opportunity that you wish. I will now open it up to the public. Questions or comments from the public on any issue at all. Microphone is yours. Welcome. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Doug Kahn. I live at 8 Fairmount Road in Homedale. And I don't have anything prepared to tell you. I came here really because I periodically look at the video version of your meetings. And I saw something that I thought, gee, I would like to share my perspective on it. And I have every respect for people that want to share their perspective, but I may have a different view. My wife and I moved into Homedale for the main reason was this school system. It's excellent. And I think that excellence is because of all the boards, including this board, and what you do leading it. And so I think the vast majority of Homedale residents appreciate this board. Sometimes, however, when you're volunteering for something or you're in a leadership position, at least I'm retired now, so I've been retired for 4 years, but I ran a fair size operation for a large company. And most times, everything came out just right as I spoke. And sometimes, though, when you're doing a lot and it's real quick, something came out wrong and it just, gee, it didn't come out just quite right, And then some people didn't zero in on that. And I think that's human nature. But what's really important, in my view, is to focus on the aggregate result of what a person does or a committee does. And you all folks, it's stellar what you do. We have one of the best educational systems, the safest school systems in New Jersey. And so both my children went through this and they received a wonderful education. My daughter's moved into Homedale and I have a 4-year-old grandson. Next year, he will be coming to school, kindergarten. And I am positive he's going to have the same wonderful education. So I just wanted to share that with you folks because I've heard some comments that either laser in on a comment that 1 or 2 individuals may have made. And I'm sure they, like I did, gee, I wish I said that a little differently. But in the aggregate, what has our contribution been? And really what you guys do is stellar. There's no fault in anything you do. So when there is a minority, especially a vocal minority, I would ask that you do not let that second guess the positive work that you do. And just keep doing what you do and leading this forward. I know we have an election coming up. I think the vast majority of Homedale residents, at least I can say I am looking forward to Terrence, you continuing on the board. And I truly believe.
Thank you.
The vast majority of Homedale residents are looking for you and others to continue on this board. So I just want to say thank you and let you know you guys are appreciated, and just keep looking forward. Don't get rattled. So that's all I had to say. I felt, somebody needed to hear it.
Thank you for your kind thoughts. Appreciate your time today.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming out and sharing your perspective with us. I think you just inspired us even further to put in the time for our community and more importantly, the children. So I'm very grateful that you took the time tonight at your schedule to come up and speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
It is a special person that puts their name out there, their time out there, regardless of their affiliations, to say, you know what, I'm going to dedicate time to the community where my children went to school, or even if your children did not go to school, that you want to reinvest your time to help make the education system the best that it could be, and beyond the educational system as well. So for any of the candidates, any of the folks that throw their hat in the ring, really kudos, because it's a lot of work. But that's, you do it because you love the community and you want to get good things done. We're still open to the public. Would any other member of the public wish to take the microphone? Hearing none, any board members, any comments? We don't have an executive session, so if folks are comfortable and we've concluded our business for the evening, we can simply have a motion to adjourn.
Move.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No opposed? Thank you very much, folks. Have a wonderful evening and a great week.